Hey, I'm golf broadcaster Matt Adams. The updated and expanded second edition of my book, The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments, is now available. Readers can expect to march with Arnie's Army at the 1960 U.S. Open, relive Jack Nicklaus's remarkable 1986 Masters win, and be amazed by the Tiger Slam. The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments. Pick it up where fine books are sold, including BarnesandNoble.com and Amazon.com.
This Day in Sports History. And welcome back to This Day in Sports History, a member of the Sports History Podcast Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sports. Learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com. It's June 23rd, and on this day in 2010, it was nail-biting time for the U.S. men's soccer team in the World Cup. The 2010 World Cup, hosted by South Africa. The low hum of a stadium full of vuvuzelas still resonate in your ears like the summer buzz of cicadas. This is the final group stage match for the U.S. against Algeria, with the U.S. needing a win. After drawing with England and Slovenia in their first two matches, they could not afford anything but a full 3 points. But the way the game went, it just seemed like one of those hard luck days when you do everything right but get no result. Clint Dempsey's goal in the 20th minute was negated by a close offside call. In the 57th, his shot hit the post and bounced away. A point-blank shot saved, a rifled free kick denied, other good chances just not finding the back of the net. With the game still scoreless and in stoppage time, the U.S. needed a miracle. And they got one. Here's Ian Dark on the call that night.
Howard gratefully claims it. Distribution, brilliant. Landon Donovan, there are things on here for the USA. Can they do it here? Cross, and Dempsey is denied again, and Donovan has scored! Oh, can you believe this? Go, go, USA! Certainly through! Oh, it's incredible! You could not write a script like this!
So, a couple of things here. You can't really tell it from the audio, but the outlet pass from goalie Tim Howard to Donovan was beautiful, and it set up the entire counterattack. Howard said that his time spent with Landon at Everton in the English Premier League and with the national team, that he just knew that he'd be making that wide run down the right side, so it was nearly instinctual for him to just put it in space in front of him. Second, this goal carried a great amount of significance. The 2006 Men's World Cup team didn't win a game, and they went home embarrassed. In the waning moments of this match, with no goals and the prospect of heading home again with 0 wins, the American media covering the match were already knee-deep into their "what's wrong with the U.S. men's soccer team" stories. The fans watching at home in the U.S. were saying something like, "Yep, same old story." But instead, Landon Donovan's goal energized the feeling around U.S. soccer. People who hated the game were dancing in the streets. Times Square looked like New Year's Eve. With the win on this night, they won their group and booked a trip to the knockout stage. To 1917 we go now, to a most unusual game for a relief pitcher. It was the Boston Red Sox hosting the Washington Senators at Fenway Park. This was the first game of a doubleheader, and getting the start for the Sox was Babe Ruth. The leadoff man for the Senators was Ray Morgan, who quickly drew a walk. Well, Ruth was not happy with home plate umpire Brick Owens' interpretation of the strike zone and started yelling at him that he'd missed 2 calls. Owens threatened to run Ruth out of the game, to which Babe responded, "You run me out, and I will come in and bust you on the nose." Well, that did it. Ruth was ejected, and true to his word, rushed in to deliver a punch to the ump's face. The catcher, Chester Thomas, restrained Babe, but he was still swinging wildly. Several policemen were summoned to pull Ruth off the field. Order now restored, the Sox needed a new pitcher, and on came Ernie Shore. In fact, they changed the full battery, with Sam Agnew replacing Thomas. Agnew cut Morgan down at second, trying to steal second, and then Shore proceeded to retire the next 26 batters. Under any other circumstances, it's a perfect game for Shore. No walks, nobody reached base on a hit or an error. He faced the minimum number of hitters that he possibly could. But, of course, it's not recognized as that by Major League Baseball. Instead, it's a combined no-hitter, with Ruth getting half the credit for that rare feat. The Sox won the game 4-0. How about a story about never giving up on your dream? Well, on this day in 2013, 44-year-old Ken Duke won his first PGA Tour event. Duke had finished second a couple of times on tour, but had yet to cash a winner's check. Duke beat Chris Stroud on the second playoff hole to win the Travelers Championships. Duke was the oldest player to pick up his first career win since Ed Doherty in 1995. But luck did play a little bit of a role. Earlier in the day, Duke's approach to the 10th was veering well off the mark. It hit a tree and then bounced on the green to 5 feet. He made birdie instead of a much bigger number. And let's close out the day with a fun story from the minor leagues. On this day in 2007, the Mobile BayBears were playing the Montgomery Biscuits in a Class 2A Southern League game. BayBears relief pitcher Matt Elliott gave up a sac fly in the bottom of the 8th that tied the game. After the inning, Elliott was not happy with himself. He headed off to the bathroom located behind the home team dugout, and he slammed the door shut. And it stayed shut. The force of the slam broke the locking mechanism inside a steel frame that was set in a concrete wall. All attempts by Elliott to open from the inside failed. Attempts at kicking it from the outside, ramming it with heavy objects, all failed to open it up. The fire department had to be called in. But in the interim, the game needed to go on. Mobile manager and former Atlanta Brave Brett Butler had to go to the bullpen to replace his relief pitcher stuck in the bathroom. The new relief man gave up a homer in the 10th, and the Biscuits beat the BayBears 5-4. As the crowd filed out after the game, Elliott was still stuck in the bathroom. It took nearly an hour to extricate him. Elliott said the next day on the team's radio broadcast, "The whole event was kind of weird." This story brought new meaning to a relief pitcher shutting the door. Time now for today's non-sports Did You Know? The world's chicken population outnumbers us humans by around 8-1. That's all for today. This Day in Sports History is a member of the Sports History Podcast Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sports. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website. Seriously, all you gotta do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you gotta do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.